All right, so today I'm going to do red light, green light from Squid Games. I'm just doing the basic game mechanics, but I'll go ahead and give you a demo of what I got. And we get the instructions here.
Today we will be playing red light, green light. When it says green light, you can walk. When it says red light, stop. If your movement is detected afterwards, you will be eliminated.
All right, now we can start running. I'm going to run right into it. Boom! Oh man, bummer. And then we get kicked from the game. So I'll go ahead and get a fresh world and show you how to build this. All right, so I got an empty world right here. I'm going to go to plugins, and then I'm just going to get, I'm going to hit this build rig, get the woman rig. So you could decorate these as much as you want. I'm going to keep this basic for the tutorial. Let me go ahead and make her bigger. So I'll get scale, hold down the shift so we can stretch out proportionally. Make them really big. There we go. Cool. And then let's put some body colors on her. There we go. Let's move back a little bit. So this doesn't have the full game loop, but I'm going to actually write it so that we can put it into a game loop easily. It's already going to be a long video. So I got the woman right here. I'm going to use focal points for her turning, right? So I'm going to put this part right here. So I didn't do an animation. I'm going to do something called a lerp. I'll show you how to do that. So this is going to be the front part. It's going to be a focal point. I'll just call it front. And then I want it to be the same height of the humanoid root part for a smooth turn, right? I don't want her tilting or anything. So I'm going to go to the humanoid root part on the dummy. I'm going to go to position, and then I'm going to get the Y value. I'm going to copy it, Control C. I'm going to go to my front part, go to the Y on position, paste it. Boom. So now the humanoid root part and my waypoint, my focal point, is at the same height, so she won't tilt when I use this as a reference. So let's go ahead and make that part invisible. We don't want to see it in the game. It's not really part of gameplay. And then we're going to anchor it. Oh, here's can collide. So we'll anchor it and turn can collide off so we don't bump into it by accident. Then, with that selected, with front selected, make sure collisions are off. Control D, it'll copy in place, and then put one behind her. We're going to call this back. So that's the back focal point. I'm going to take the front and the back, those two parts. You can't really see them in the workspace. And I'm going to put it in the dummy. And I can put it in the model. I could put the focal points in the model because I'm not using anything that's going to turn the entire model. I'm just going to turn the woman, and then you can use it on the head too if you want. So I'm going to make the function for turning so that you could use the body part instead of just the whole body. All right, cool. We need some sounds, and I found some sounds, and I put links in the descriptions for them, and I got them all out of the Roblox, so you could look for them and find better ones if you want. Here's my instructions. I'm just going to drag it into the workspace. Here's my gunshot. I'm going to drag it into the workspace. And here's my green light. I'm going to drag it into the workspace. So if you look in the description, I have links to those. If you look under my account, I made them shareable. So I'm going to select that red light or green light, gunshot, and instruction sounds that's in the workspace. I'm going to drag them into the dummy. I'm going to keep everything in the dummy. Cool. Now let's add a script to the dummy. There's a script. And let's start coding. So keep in mind, we want to put this in a game loop, right? Not this video, but maybe the next one. So we're going to do everything for that. I'm going to make a player list instead of just using the player service because I want to have statuses like waiting and playing and dead and winning, stuff like that. So we have a local player list. We'll initialize that. We're going to do this Boolean for is red, and that's going to be true. We'll just initialize it to true. Is red is when the red light action is happening. Then we'll do a random number generator. We'll get this random new, and that's going to change the variability of the red light, green light states. Let's get our sounds. So green light sound, script.parent, green light. We have our instructions sound, script.parent.instructions. We got our shot sound, and And that should do it. Script.parent.gunshot. All right, we need the humanoid root part of the woman, right? So HRP, script.parent, wait for child, humanoid root part. Cool. We need our focal point. So remember we had front, script.parent.front, local back, script.parent.back. We need a min number of players and then how many players are playing. And that's going to be mostly for our lobby stuff, for our full game, but let's put them in anyway. So we'll say min players, and we'll just set that to 1 while we're testing. And then we'll do a num of players. That's how many people are currently playing. We're going to start out with 0. All right, let's get some functions. So we're going to need a function for the intro. That's going to be our instructions. We're going to need a function for, checking for movement, right? Check for movement. And then I'm going to terminate the players separately from the check. I'm only going to mark them for movement, and then I'm going to terminate them after that. So I'm going to do a function for terminate. I call that terminate players. I wanted to spell terminate right. I think I got that right. All right, what else we need? The woman, the dummy, is going to turn around, so we need a function for face direction. Whoops, dir, because she's going to turn back and forth, so we're going to have 2 directions. I'm going to pass in the part. I'm going to use the humanoid root part for this, and that's going to be the part. And the target position is the direction she's facing. All right, and then I need a function to switch state from green light to red light and red light to green light. So we'll say switch state. Cool. And let's do a local function play game. And let's populate this now, right? We'll do the intro. We're going to do the game loop of the individual game. So I'm just going to make it true, right? I'm just going to run this thing until forever for now. And I'll put a note. I'll say break when all players are finished. So finished is either dead or won. All right, let's see. Let's do our switch state. So we're going to enter the game loop. We're going to go to green light because we initialized it to red. Just do a little wait. And then we're going to do the case for red and the case for green. Let's do the case for red first. So is red is true. Now we're going to have to loop around looking for movement. So we're going to need some times. We're going to need a red light time. I'm going to call this red time. Random next number. I'm going to vary it between 2 and 5 seconds. All right. And now I'm going to get the start time of the loop. And then we're going to keep track of how long this loop is running. And we want it to equal red time. So I'm going to use a tick, which is the number of seconds after midnight from January 1st, 1970, which is called epoch. You can go down to the millisecond, but Roblox does it in seconds. All right, so we get our base time, and then I'm going to have something called tote time. This is going to be the total running time of the loop. I'll initialize that to 0. I'll do a while red time is greater than equal to tote time do, right? So tote time is going to have to keep updating to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually it'll break this loop because it'll be bigger than red time. During that, we're going to check for movement, do a little wait, whoops, wait, and then we're going to terminate players, do a little wait, and then we will update tote time to the new tick minus the initial time, which is the old tick. Cool, so that's the red, this is the red condition, right? And then we're going to put an else in here, right? Else, we'll put a note, we'll say green light. So the green light is going to be easy. Green light, we're just going to wait. With the random number generator, we'll do a next number, and we'll go between 0 and 4 seconds. You can do anything there. We don't have to do any checks. Cool. All right, now let's get this thing going. Let's start things here. We're going to do a function when a player is added. So I'm going to say add player. Remember, we're not doing a lobby here. And we're going to have different statuses that we need assigned to player. What we're going to do is we're going to initialize our player list here. So I'm going to have a note here for status. In our lobby, we will want the waiting status, right? We'll want a playing status. I'm going to use a kill status for when the movement is detected. They're going to be flagged for kill. And then I'm going to do a lose once they get terminated. And then we'll have a win, but we won't implement that here. You'll just keep playing until you die in this one, right? Let's get our player list. The key will be the player, and then we'll do a little status key in here, and we'll just initialize that to playing for now. Oh, one more thing we want to do in add player. We want to increment our number of, let's make this number of players with an S. So I'm going to go up to the top here. I'm going to fix that. I missed the S here. Number of players. That's going to add a lot of problems for people who don't watch the video. All right, so we'll do plus equals 1. Nice. All right, and then this is our makeshift lobby, right? We're just going to repeat print waiting for players. We'll do a wait 1 second per iteration. That's good. And then we'll just wait until we have enough players. We'll say number of players is greater than or equal to min players. Awesome. Oh, you know what we want to do above that? Let's go ahead and connect the game players event, the player added event, to add player. There we go. So we can fire this off. When somebody enters, we want to fire that off and set their status. Cool. And now, once we get enough players, we'll just do a little wait, maybe 5 seconds. And then we'll just call the game. We'll call the play game, right? We call it play game, boom. Alrighty. Let's populate some of these functions that we put for placeholders. Intro is going to be easy. Intro, you'd play the sound. So we'll do the instruction sound, play. And you could do an instruction sound dot ended colon wait here if you had good instructions, but my instructions are a little bit messed up at the end, so I'm going to trim off 3.5 seconds from the instructions. They're a little long too, so I'm going to wait. What is that? Instruction sound time length minus 3.5 seconds. So I played with that time until I cut it off where it sounded good. And then I'm just going to manually stop the instructions, right? So if you get good instructions, then you could just go to the ended event, do an ended wait. All right, let's look at our play game, right? So we just populated that. We got to do our switch state. That's easy enough. So is red will be not is red. And then let's do the turning here too. So let's start out with the green light event because that makes more sense. We'll say if not is red, then we want to face, if it's green light, we want to face back, right? So we'll do this face direction, humanoid root part, back position. Let's start our sound. So we have our green light sound play. And then when we switch, we'll have an else. We're going to stop our sound, green light sound, stop. So she'll stop singing. And then we're going to turn around and face front, right? So we'll do a face direction, HRP, front position. Right, so we're going to get the position of that front part. All right, let's do our face DIR. This is probably the most mathematical intensive or programming intensive. It's short, it's just hard to understand because we're going to do a LERP. A LERP is called a linear interpolation. So we're going to get CF1 is going to be the initial C frame. So the part is the humanoid root part. We're going to initialize it to the C frame of the woman, right? We're passing the woman in. Then we're going to need a destination C frame. So that's going to be C frame new. we're going to use the position of CF1, but we're going to face the C frame to the target position. That's that second argument of a C frame is the way it's facing. The first one is its position. The second one is its direction. So then we'll do this for loop for I equals 0 to 1 in steps of 0.05 do. So what am I doing here? This is going to be 0% of the whole movement process. This is going to be the completed process. So it's on a scale from 0 to 1, right? So every 0.05 is 5% of the change, right? So in order to do a linear interpolation, we are going to assign the part C frame, which is a humanoid root part. There we go. Where's my C frame? There it is. To this CF1 lerp CF2 I, right? So we're starting here, we're ending here in percentages of I, which is 5% per loop. Then we're just going to do a little wait in between each iteration, and I'm going to do 0.05. If you want the girl to turn faster, decrease this number. If you want the girl, the dummy, to go slower, decrease that number. If you increase these numbers, you might get choppy movement. So decreasing them is the better way of doing it. All right, cool. So now we switched state, we changed direction. We have a red light process. In the red light process, we have to check for movement. We have to terminate players if they're moving. So let's go to our check for movement. Check for movement, here we go. And we're going to do a for loop. We're going to loop through our player list. So we'll say for PLY, that's going to be a variable for player. V is going to be the variable for status. In pairs, so these are key value pairs. Player list do. So we're going to loop through all the players, and this is their corresponding status. We set that down here in this table. So V will be the status, PLY will be the player, right? That's that whole four player V in pairs player list. Cool. We need a character, right? We need to get the character from the player. So PLY dot character or PLY dot character added weight, just in case it's not there. Characters add funny sometimes, so you have to be a little careful. Right, we're going to get the humanoid from the character because the humanoid has something called move direction, which is the easiest way to detect player movement. There's a lot of other ways, and you could make this really, really precise to make sure they don't move at all. But I'm just going to look for the running action in any direction. So we'll do char, wait for child, humanoid, and then we'll get our move direction. Hum dot move direction dot magnitude. We only care if they're moving. We don't care which way they're moving. Magnitude. If move direction is greater than 0 and v dot status equals playing, we are going to mark them for death. So we're going to say v status now equals kill. Right, that's our kill flag. So v status, this is actually a reference inside your table. So if you update the v status in this way, it's going to update in the table. All right, if you don't know the difference between reference and value, that's fine. Just know that this works. All right, so let's go ahead and delete all, or not delete it, copy all of this. Copy. And then we're going to do a terminate. Very similar. You could do the terminate in the check for movement. I wanted to split them out in case I wanted to slow down the termination process. All right, so we have our similar for loop. We're going to get rid of the movement stuff. We already took care of that. In our for loop, I'm going to do an if statement. If v status equals kill, right? They're flagged for killing. We'll put our end here and let's format that text. There we go. Then we're going to kill them. So we're going to get our status again, and we're going to change it to lose, right? And this is actually acting as a debounce because it takes a little while to die, and these two are going to be checking very quickly between each other, you could feasibly kill the player twice. So I'm going to flag them. They're only going to die once, right? Because we could run into some problems if we, because we're going to kick them too, right? So after the humanoid, let's do our shot sound play. And if you look at the shot sound is 1.097 seconds. Let's just do a tiny wait so we hear the sound die slightly later, right? Just a split second later, right? So then we'll do the hum, take damage, 100. That's going to be a lethal blow. Then we'll wait 0.8 seconds so that we can see the dying event. We'll do the playlist. We're going to get our player and we're going to make it nil. So that essentially wipes them out of the player list. Right? And then we'll get our player and we're going to kick them. You died. All right. So this playlist is really good too, because then we could do like the little UI effects where they like blink out and stuff. All right, I think we're good. Let's give it a try. Should we look it over? No, if we get an error, we'll just fix it, right? So let's go ahead and do our play. Let's look at the view, make sure we don't have any errors. It's looking good so far. Oops, our woman is that way.
Today we will be playing red light, green light. When it says green light, you can walk. When it says red light, stop. If your movement is detected afterwards, you will be eliminated.
There we go. Good, you turned. Ooh, better stop. My video is kind of laggy because my computer's really old. Okay, I'm going to run right into it. Oh, man. Bummer. So anyway, I thought that's pretty cool. If you guys like this, you want me to put it into a game loop, I'll do another video for it.